Hello, welcome to today's edition of Pegasus Test. On today's edition, we're covering the gear I used at Finnish Brutality 2020. Alright, the first piece of gear that we'll go over is the rifle that I used. And it's a Franken rifle. It's an AR. It's kind of built the one piece at a time method. Special features of this rifle: Magpul standard fixed stock, using Magpul MOE Plus grip. Got a bad lever on there. I know some people are not a fan of those, but on this particular rifle it actually works really well. Also got the black label bipod on there and a Trigicon TA44 or 45, I forget which one. It's basically a 1.5x red dot sight. The rifle itself performed adequately. There were no malfunctions. I never had to clear a jam with it. I was able to perform. What problems I had, as you've watched the videos, are all from the shooter being all gimped up with a pulled hamstring. But the rifle itself performed and met the challenge admirably. As you can still see here, the rifle still has plenty of its finished dust all over it. The rifle got extra dirty and never malfunctioned. It served me well. It was a good choice to take along. I, however, did encounter a few challenges, and one of them's right here. It's not showing up the greatest on camera, but it was the black label bipod itself. As you can see here, the bipod's folded down, and I have green 100-mile-an-hour tape on it. And the reason I have that on there is the bipod failed right before I sent it to Finland. These bipod legs have extendable portions to them, which on this length, on the 14-inch handguard, you do need when you have a 30-round magazine in, because when you do, the rifle itself will tend to monopod, as you see here. And sometimes you're going to want to have extended legs to get aiming on your target, more comfortable grip on the rifle, etc. Well, extending the legs became not an option because of that tape. Because one of the times I extended the bipod right before I sent the rifle over to Finland, and literally the leg fell off. The whole mechanism for holding the leg extensions in place failed. So all that tape you see is, one, holding on the latch mechanism, and two, actually holding the leg in. I'll go ahead and reverse the rifle so you can see how it looks on the other side. Apologize for the lighting conditions outdoors today not being perfect, but such is life. I've zoomed in here. If you look off to the left-hand leg there, you'll see the button that allows the leg to be extended, and you'll see the rubber foot down at the bottom that extends. If you look on the right leg, you can see the button's literally taped in place. That green tape is all that's holding it on. And the green tape at the bottom is the only thing holding the foot into the bipod, which is kind of sad because these black label bipods are not cheap. Matter of fact, I paid $500 for the base system, and then they charged me an extra $150 to Cerakote at 0° green so it can match up with the rest of my rifle. So that's a lot of money for a bipod and forearm to fail, to be honest. Right now, dealing with their customer service, or I would have to emphasize saying trying to deal with their customer service, because when I told them there was a problem, there was all kinds of quick response, and then when I followed up with pictures as they requested and everything, I've had nothing but silence for over a month. So right now, Black Label is not impressing me. The only other part of the rifle that gave me some trouble was the front sling swivel. I don't know which brand it is, it doesn't really matter, but it was wet in Finland. The first day we had a lot of rain on the match, and as you can even see, we had so much that I'm already picking up some rust on my barrel, which I have to deal with now that the rifle's back in the USA. Can I strip her down and do some really good maintenance on her? That being said, the front sling swivel got a little rust on her and wouldn't work and kept popping out. Now it was easily fixed. I hit it with some CLP, lubed it up really good, popped the rust loose, and now it's working. But that's a minor problem, but I did encounter it. I mean, such is life. It's, you know, things happen. But overall, the rifle performed well. This Trigicon TA44 or 45, I forget which number it is, this performed adequately, and I really have no complaints as this thing's bomb-proof. It has a rather large dot in it, so sometimes it actually obscured the target when I was aiming, but no big deal there. It works on fiber optic. There was no battery issues to worry about, and the coolest thing about this fiber optic, I have found incredibly dim light even indoors. It still manages to pull in enough light to give you at least a faint dot to use off of. You may notice that there's a lot of tape on this sight, and it's not because there's anything functionally wrong with the sight. It's really because this is a used sight. I got it at a police auction, and somebody in the police department that last used it did horrible things to it with an electric pencil. And you know, it just looks bad. So as tacky as the tape looks, it's a whole lot better looking than when it's not taped up. The pistol I used, well, pretty plain Jane, an FNS9 long slide. No modifications to it. It's got its factory sights on it. Comes with 17 round magazines. I took 3 pistol magazines with me. Thank goodness I did, because if you look at my performance on stage 8, I got through that whole stage, didn't even par out, which was awesome, but had only 2 rounds left. So I went through almost 3 17 round magazines to complete that course. That was a tough one. So having those few extra rounds was very handy. The pistol handled phenomenally. It hits where it points. It had one malfunction, and that was on stage 8 when I was firing weak hand after switching over to the kettlebell. And I really think that was because I limp wristed the pistol. When you're carrying around a 24 kilo kettlebell, it starts to make your arm get a little numb and pull and lose a little sense of feeling and stuff. So I just think I wasn't gripping the pistol tightly enough and hadn't locked my wrist, and that's what caused the one malfunction I had. It was a shooter error, not a pistol error. Next piece of gear was the pistol belt. And I went pretty basic here. I used a USGI issue pistol belt and had a USGI issue M12 holster, which was perfect for this pistol, and it's usually good for most iron-sighted pistols that you're not mounting a red dot on or have some type of underbarrel attachment. If under those parameters, it'll probably fit in this holster. The holster performed excellently. It did a great job. Had no problems with it. Brutality style matches are not ones where draw speed is super critical or critical at all. So your most important thing is not losing the pistol, which of course is immediate DQ. So retention of pistol, it's hard to beat the M12, and it's good, solid, all-round gear. The only other piece of gear I carried on the belt was a Maxpedition dump pouch. As far as dump pouches go, it does its job. It's not the largest one out there by any stretch of the imagination. I don't normally use dump pouches, but there are times when you just need a place to set gear that it's hard to argue with. So in a match environment, it's not a bad thing to have. I won't say it's essential, but it doesn't hurt to have it. Another piece of gear that I used during the match was this Aimcam Pro2i shooter's camera. And as you can see, it's got this small camera right here, and the purpose of that is to allow the shooter to get a down the sights kind of view. I've done reviews of this before last year. There are videos, links down in the description box below. I've used it in a training environment, I've used it in a competition environment, and the glasses do have some pros and cons. The pros are they're good quality shooting glasses, and you do get a unique view. When you get that camera aligned just right, you are practically almost looking down the sights. It's hard to argue with. But these glasses and this camera system are not up to the requirements of brutality style matches, unfortunately. I have used these glasses in several matches, and there's a set of problems. This is actually the second set I had. I had to send the first set back to Aimcam for repair, and they just sent a complete set of replacements to me. So whatever I did to them really messed them up. The problem with them is they're too sensitive to impacts and movement and things like that. You go through a lengthy calibration process, and it involves using your cell phone. You set it out in front of it, you aim down it, and you see what the camera's seeing on the phone by aiming at the phone, and that tells you if you've got it right. It's a process that's way easier with someone helping you. And the thing is, you have to do it constantly. I recalibrated these glasses before each and every stage of the match. And disappointingly, I got very little usable footage out of it. I think out of the 8 stages, I used footage from the Aimcam maybe on 3 of them, and even then it was only short segments. So for all the trouble to use them, all the trouble to set it up, it really didn't give me much, and the GoPro ended up overall giving me better footage that was easier to use. Now there are some advantages to them, and I don't want to be too harsh on it because I'm saying it's not good for brutality matches. On an IPSC match, yeah, these would come through really good. If you shoot a lot of shotguns like clays, Helise, trap, something like that, again, this is something that would probably work really well in that environment. The only detriment seems to be also is wearing a hat, because the brim will stick out over the camera, and if you move your glasses around because they get foggy or something bumps you or something like that, the camera gets out of alignment. On several stages of fire, when I reviewed the footage, I ended up having great pictures of back of my hands. Last piece of gear I used was this UW Gear Bandolier. This is not a standard piece of gear, it's actually a custom piece, i.e. you can order the Bandolier from UW Gear, and I highly suggest you do. It's great gear. But it's custom in the fact that at last year's Finnish Brutality, I bought a couple square meters of the Finnish M05 camouflage, brought it back, and asked John down at UW Gear to make me a few pieces of gear out of it, and this is one of the things he made for me. It performs excellent. It holds 4 magazines, 2 in a pouch, and it has a set of molly here off on the side, which you can add whatever you want to that molly. I chose to add a simple pistol pouch or pistol magazine pouch. Makes for nice and compact. And the reason I like this rig is it's a good truck rig for having extra ammo for that kind of contingency, but also in traveling internationally to a foreign competition, you kind of want to go light as you can. And this has everything you need on it and nothing you don't, and it's compact. Traveling internationally, you have baggage fees. And if you want to bring your full armor set up, well, that adds a lot of cost. So trying to keep the weight down so you don't have extra bags, don't have to pay overweight baggage fees and everything, this is a lightweight rig. In my opinion, it's the way to go. We hope you found this series on Finnish Brutality helpful and informative. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and tune in for future competition videos.